Welcome back to our Getting Started series for Devolutions Hub Business. In this third video, we'll see how to add and import entries like website passwords, remote sessions, and other useful content into Devolutions Hub using the web interface, the dedicated Workspace app, and the browser extension, and even Remote Desktop Manager. So let's check it out. Let's get our admin Maurice off to a good start by creating entries he uses daily in his user vault. You'll notice a wide variety of entry types available, from popular ones to session entries, credential entries, information, contact, VPN tunnels and gateways, and even templates that you can create. To start off, let's go to a session type and add a website entry. This one will be for his Office 365 account that he uses daily. While filling out the basic website info, you'll notice several customization sections on the left. These will change depending on the type of entry you're in, so it makes sense that these all have to do with websites. Under the section here called Browser Extension, you'll see that it's enabled by default. This lets the Workspace Browser Extension fetch this entry to autofill website credentials. It can be disabled if needed, but we'll come back to using the browser extension a bit later on in this video. If I save the entry, you can actually see that I can navigate directly to the website if needed. Now let's switch to a shared vault like the Windjammer Vault. Let's add a different type of entry, let's say a Wi-Fi access point that everyone will be able to use. I'll quickly fill out the required information and then I'll add it to the vault. Above the entry, you can see that we have various tabs associated with them, like this documentation one. This is great for putting various information for the users or instructions. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put the Wi-Fi access policy using the WYSIWYG editor as a quick and easy resource for all the Windjammer employees. You can also even upload attachments if that's easier, as well as view the current permissions that you have in this vault. Now, let's say you had add an entry and then you realize that the shared permissions for that vault may be too restrictive or too permissive. Well, if you go into the security tab of an entry itself by toggling the little advanced button, you can actually override the permissions for this entry itself, which is really great to give you granular controls for individual items as well. Let me now manually add the rest of the entries to this vault, and then we'll come back in a second and take a look at the dedicated app to access your hub called Devolutions Workspace. Alright, my vault is now filled up, and I've also downloaded the free Workspace desktop app from the Devolutions website. And yes, there's even a mobile version for when you're on the go. Now, while it's not required, the Workspace app is a great way to work with Devolutions Hub. You can browse vaults and entries in a clean and focused interface. You can access your credentials quickly without juggling tabs in your browser. And if you have it connected to the Devolutions gateway, you can even launch remote sessions directly in-app. Now, before we leave Workspace, I did want to show you the authenticator portion of the application. This is a place where you can store your one-time passwords for those applications and websites that require a second form of authentication. Additionally, in the tools section below, you also have access to Devolution Send, a secure and quick way to send sensitive information like passwords to another recipient, whether they're inside or outside your organization. So another great way to add website entries is by using the free browser plugin called the Workspace Browser Extension. Here's how it works. Once I go to the Devolutions website, I can add the browser extension from the page, and then you'll notice that it shows up in your favorite web browser. Now, if I click on it, then I have to connect it to a space. So here I can select my Hub Business, paste in the correct information, and then let it authenticate with my Devolutions account. Now that it's authenticated, I could select on the extension and then go to the vaults to choose which vaults I want to synchronize with the extension. Then if I go on to my user vault, you can see that Office 365 account we created earlier. And if I click on it, it'll take me directly to that website. Now let's go ahead and go to another website that I haven't included in my Hub yet. And I want Hub to create the credentials as I log in. So after putting in my username and password, you'll see that Workspace Browser Extension has detected that I'm trying to create a new website login and wants to add it to my Hub. Here I'll select the user vault, and switching back to Hub, you'll see that it saved it there. So it's a great and efficient way of creating entries without having to manually type them in. Now, to illustrate the autofill portion of Workspace Browser Extension, let me log out of this account and then revisit it. You'll notice now that when I visit the Atlassian website, it actually has a little Workspace Browser Extension icon show up that I can select to put in the username as well as the password, and then I can log in directly from there. In the top right, if you look at the extension itself, you can also see that it knows there's a login for this website available by a little 1 indicated there. Another method to create websites is to simply import them from Google Chrome, KeePass, LastPass, and others. After exporting your file in CSV or JSON format, simply upload the file, then you can choose which vault you want to store this in, as well as a folder. And in our case, I'm actually going to create a KeePass import folder in my user vault for Maurice. Then Hub will ask me to complete the import with a small summary, and then I'll see all of those entries directly in the KeePass import folder that I successfully brought in. Now that we've examined 3 great ways to add entries, let's explore the most versatile and advanced option, using Remote Desktop Manager. This is ideal for IT users like Maurice and Bob. We've just installed a fresh copy of Remote Desktop Manager, and now we're going to connect it to the Devolutions Hub. Just like we did with the browser extension, we're going to have to sign in and make sure that the hub is connected to Remote Desktop Manager. So I'll put in his email as well as his host information. Now, just a heads up, since we are working in a shared environment, Hub Business requires the Team Edition of Remote Desktop Manager and not the free Solo Edition. If you're not familiar with RDM, it's our remote connection management tool, which helps you centralize your endpoints, credentials, external tools, scripts, automations, and so much more from a single pane of glass. Let's switch over to an empty shared vault and add a few remote sessions. Clicking the new entry icon shows you all the available entry types in RDM. Many of these will look familiar to the Hub interface, but here you'll get access to hundreds more. We're talking everything from remote connections and credential types to general information entries, VPNs and gateways, IT asset management, macros and scripts, and synchronizer tools. It's got everything you expect and more from an IT toolbox. Now let's start by adding a brand new RDP session. I can choose to either hard code the credentials directly in the session, or I can actually link them to an external credential stored in my hub. Flexibility is huge, but for this demo, I'll keep it quite simple. Opening this RDP session will access our endpoint using the data stored in Hub and leveraging the power of Remote Desktop Manager. And if we switch on over to the Hub interface, you can see that all of the entry information that I just created in RDM is available here in the web portal. You can see that it's currently opened by me, and I could even launch it if I wanted to in RDM from the Hub interface. You'll also see here an option to open it in the browser. That means that if you have a Devolutions gateway installed, like I have in this example, I can launch this RDP as well as other session types directly from the web. It's seamless, fully integrated, and just works. Another additional functionality is that you can import files from a large variety of sources. So here, if I go to another vault and I go to import, you can see I can import sessions from various remote connection tools, as well as logins from a wide variety of password managers that currently exist. So this is an extremely efficient way of importing a large variety of entry types into your hub using Remote Desktop Manager. As you can see here, all of those entries are now cleanly organized and available both in Hub, Workspace, and Remote Desktop Manager, so I can get ready to work quickly. So that about wraps up our walkthrough of how to add entries to your Devolutions Hub. In our next and final video, we'll take a look at some additional administrative options, resources, and reports that I think will be a benefit to you as you start using Hub and onboarding your team.